Essex, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here with today's 3-Minute Thursday. For today's short conversation, we're going to go through a rundown on farm tax exemption and explain whether you might be tax exempt in your application. We need to preface this video by, of course, explaining to you that I am not a tax accountant. Don't pretend to be giving you tax advice. This is an incredibly complex subject. If you look at tax law across the country, it is mind-numbingly complex. And this is one area that there is very, very little consistency in how things are done. There are over 10,000 tax jurisdictions in the United States. Even within a given state, you can have counties that have differences for these rules that just don't exist in a blanket way whatsoever. So while I'm going to give you some guidelines and some generalities here today, this is not advice of how to do things. Make sure you check the rules in your local jurisdiction. One thing you want to think about when you think about if you may be tax exempt for ag or not is really to start thinking about yourself as a business. For the most part, you need to be involved in the production of some kind of product in order to be buying things on a tax exempt basis. So if you're going to be, say, producing hay for your own horses, you're not really in a tax exempt scenario for the most part. You're serving yourself really and not creating things for resale for the public. So you really want to take that business mind to this. It's not just the activity that you're doing, it's the purpose behind it matters as well. So there's several gray areas that we often run into with certain items that aren't really clear what category they're going to fall into. And again, you can think about producing a product and that really starts to bring some clarity to whether something may be tax exempt or not. So chainsaws is one thing that we often run to right away. So if we take a chainsaw, for instance, if you're using that chainsaw for a Christmas tree farm, say to go out and cut down the trees that you're going to be selling, that chainsaw will be tax exempt because it's used in the production of that tree. Building maintenance and facility property maintenance, this is not a tax exempt activity. You're not creating value in that product that you're going to be selling. So if you're buying that same chainsaw and you're going to be going out and cleaning up fence rows with it, you're maintaining things, you're not producing something, and so that chainsaw is a taxable transaction. Zero-turn mowers and mowing equipment kind of falls into the same category as well. There is a no real use for a zero-turn mower in any kind of production application. It is a building maintenance product. And so while the tractors and equipment that you might be buying are tax exempt, a zero-turn mower as a building maintenance item is taxable. A majority of our operations are done in Pennsylvania, so we're fairly familiar with the Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey laws when it comes to sales tax. In Pennsylvania, when you want to be sales tax exempt, you don't really need to go through and fill out a whole lot of extra forms. When you come into a dealership for the first time, we're going to have a PA tax exemption certificate that you simply fill out your name, address, phone number, and the use of the item that you're buying and why it's exempt. That's going to vary from state to state. Maryland really has less forms than that even. There's no formal process other than going through and scribbling your name down that you're buying things tax exempt. You can get into some areas like South Dakota. South Dakota doesn't even have a statewide system for this. There's some on the more local level, but on a state level, there's very little. So again, the basis of going through and actually filling out the forms with the state and doing these things properly with them can vary wildly, so make sure you go through and check your local regulations. By and large, guys always want to lean on these things pretty hard and not pay whenever possible. We're really going to caution you to make sure that you're following your local regulations and doing these things properly. Retailers like us do go through periodic state audits of this stuff. They'll come in, they'll look at all of our transactions, they'll make sure that we have all of our tax cards and everything in place, and then they do have all of that information knowing what purchases you would have made, and there is always the potential that that can then be used in an audit of your own finances. We have seen some of that kind of stuff happen. You know, these states are hungry for money at this point, and they're taking every avenue possible in order to collect that. So if you're really treading into some gray areas, do proceed with caution. The fines and fees that you're going to pay on this kind of stuff if you're caught are often well in excess of just paying it out front and doing it properly. So if you are in the market for any parts, tractors, or equipment, give us a call at Essex. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Essex.com.